Wabanabiekna, wabanabiekna, mega de sespela madiek, Bukula de Muja, wabanabiek.
Hey Heather, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Jairus. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a while.
It's been a very long time, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have been the director here at the Billboard Cultural Heritage Center for how long now?
Since 2015.
Hey, how did you get involved with it?
So at the very beginning, I was a co-op student in like 2012. And so during my co-op, my co-op term, I had to come and do a 6-month work term. Mm-hmm. So I had chosen this place to come. So during my 6 months, I kind of got the feel of who I was and what the whole building was representing. And so after I graduated, they actually had hired me back here full time. And I worked underneath Gordon Pecto. He was a program director at that time, so I was his assistant. And that was the time when I actually got to really divulge into the history of what this represented. And so in 2015, when Millbrook actually took it over in ownership, they placed me in the management position. And I've been there ever since.
Excellent. So how long has the center as a whole been here in the community?
Yeah, since 2006.
2006?
Yeah.
Before 2006, of course, there was no center here in the community.
Yeah.
How did do you know how the idea came about in having a center for culture and history of the community here with the center?
Yeah, it's mixed messages, but overall it was between our former chief, Lawrence Paul, and one of our, at the time, council members, Lloyd Johnson.
Oh, okay.
So they worked collaboratively on establishing a center such as this.
When you started taking over as director in 2015, between 2006 and 2015, did you come here often?
I didn't actually. I only came here once prior to being here for my co-op position. And when I came here, it was like, I looked at the place and I was like, what is this, type thing? Because I really didn't know what it was, but I knew it was about us.
Yes.
And so when I came in, I was greeted by, there's a youth that was working here, and I know her now, but her name is Emily Cope. Anyway, she had greeted me and started talking about what it was, and I was like enticed. I was like, whoa, what is this all about? And so she showed us the video. We have an 18-minute video that shows about 500 or so years of our history. And so after I seen that, I was like, wow, there's a lot more information out there than I've ever known. Mm-hmm. I didn't know much about myself. I was born and raised in the United States. Oh, okay. So coming up here, I was like, oh, now I get to learn about our people, who we are and what we're about, that type of history. But unfortunately, our community didn't really have that until this was actually built and brought about. So.
Excellent. Your grandfather was a residential school survivor, right. And one thing we did learn from the TRC and from intergenerational experiences is how language, culture is taken away from students who went to these schools. And unfortunately, it becomes virtually non-existent to pass down to children and to grandchildren. But speaking with you today, I've learned so much from you, learned here today. So how does becoming involved in the center helped you reconnect with what was lost intergenerationally?
Like I mentioned earlier, I was born in the United States, right? So in the United States, my mother knew nothing about her history either because her dad didn't have any understanding of what his history was about. So there was no language, there was no culture, there was nothing that he could pass on to them. So when Mom had her 4 children, myself included, there was nothing. Like there was nothing that could be passed on because there was nothing shared to her. I had tried to speak to my granddad about, history and such. We weren't taught anything down there, just like up here. We weren't taught anything down there about any of that. So when he told me he was hurt in school, I was like, school? What? In school, I'm having fun in school. What does that mean, So then, as time went on, he wanted to find a safer place for us to be because in the United States, we were poor. We were real poor. We didn't have a whole lot to say that we had, and it was our family was our family, and that was it, and it was just a few of us that lived together in our family unit. And so when my granddad felt that it was a need for him to come up here and try to find a safer place for us. You know, the ironic thing is now that I look back at it, safer place for us. He had such a traumatic experience up here, but he felt it was safe for us to move up here. I just didn't quite, now I don't quite understand what he was talking about. But at that time I was like, Canada, I don't want to go to Canada, it's cold up there, you know, and all of those things, right? So in his venture up here, he actually passed away. He had no time to actually find anything or get us set anywhere. He passed away in a hotel just here in Truro. And so we actually came up for his funeral. And when we came up here for his funeral, that's when we got to understand, you know, my family, the family unit that I had. It was huge, huger than I would ever imagine. Like I have family in Eskasoni, Membertou, Wagamako. You know, I have family all over, up in Cape Breton. But my family originally came from here. So when we settled here, we still didn't have that family connection. We didn't have any ability to learn from our family, our culture, our history, our language, because we didn't have that here. We had it in Eskasoni, and when we didn't have any means of transportation or anything like that when we first came up here. So that gap never closed in. So we never were able to do that. So when I went to the neighboring school, I got to meet people from here, children, people my age from here. But then again, they didn't know it. They don't know their language, they don't know their culture because of things that have happened to their family in the past, right? It was never passed on. So this community here is very uneducated about their history, uneducated about their culture, their language, which is unfortunate because it's such a beautiful history. It's such, you know, our language is amazing. But when I started here, that's when I started to connect with who I was. That's when I started to connect when my granddad told me that things happened to him in school. That's when I started to understand what he was talking about. You know, he wasn't lying to me. You know, he was telling me the truth type thing. So that's when I started to say, okay, I need to know more about myself and how am I gonna do that? So that's why I started here, thinking that this was going to help me to understand that. And sure enough, it is. You know, every day I have people coming in, I have elders coming in, and they're telling me things that I've never known before, but they walk in here and they feel welcomed. They always tell me, I feel so welcomed in here. I feel so at ease when I come in here. And they sit down and they ask for a cup of teas and all that stuff, and I just sit down and I talk to them. No matter what it is that I have on my table, no matter what it is that has to be done, I make time for them because that's the way I want to learn, was from them, you know? And now I have the opportunity. I would have never have had if I didn't start here.
Did you know that place names in Mi'kmaq can be verbs or nouns? If the location had a particular activity, for example, Eelspearn, the place would be a verb. If the location was a specific landmark, a lake or of a resource was available, it may be a noun. The word place actually doesn't exist in the Mi'kmaq language.
My name is Heather Stevens. I am a Mi'kmaq woman from Truro, Nova Scotia. How I came here, well, it's been a long journey.
When people come into the center, and one of the biggest first things they see here is this incredible large Mi'kmaq regalia. There was quite a journey with that, how it left here and how it came back to Mi'kmaqi. Could you share about that?
It was first discovered in 2000 by a Métis man from BC. And when he discovered it, he was down in Melbourne, Australia. He was living with the Aborigines or the mobs that were down there. And one of the mobs, one of the people in it, had asked him if he would like to go to the Melbourne Museum and go to the Indigenous section of that museum. The Indigenous interpreter had brought them around, and one of the people from the mob down there had said that he knows that there's something there that belongs here in Canada. You know, and he asked them, the interpreter, if you can show this man, because he was from Canada, what it is that they have. It was the regalia Plus, there was some other stuff that I didn't know about until I actually went down there and came back, was that there was Penobscot, Abenaki, and Maliseet things that he had collected too and brought down there with him. Him, meaning his name is Samuel Huey, I think I'm saying it right, but it was acquired to him because of work that he had done for our people way back in like the mid 1840s. He got all of his stuff brought down to him. His sister traveled with it. Mm-hmm. And so his sister and himself were living in Melbourne right up until his death in 1877. And in his will, he had indicated that anything and all Indian things that he has collected over his lifetime were to be donated to the Indigenous section or the Indian section of the Melbourne Museum. So in 2012, when I was here as a co-op student, the picture of this regalia was displayed in an old display case that we had here. And the write-up that was down on the bottom, I read it, and it was misleading because it said that the regalia was actually here. So then in 2015, when they had to close their ownership, and we took it over in 2015, that's when I started to actually divulge into the history and why it was down there and why it said that it was here and it wasn't. There was a lot of red tape that was happening between the previous owners and the Melbourne Museum. And they weren't comfortable with having it come back home because of the way that things were being run up here. They kind of just put a stop to it. They didn't want anything to do with it. They told them, no, it's staying here. It's not coming back. And they have the right to do that. They were stewards to that at that time, right? And there was no repatriation law, right? Mm-hmm. There was none. And we don't have one still to this day. But when I started the conversation, within the documentation, I had looked, and there was her name. Her name was Genevieve Greaves. She was from the Wabu mob, or Wabu Nation, from that area, and she was part of the Indigenous section of the Melbourne Museum. So I have the number on it, and I called. I just introduced myself, and it was like a natural flow of conversation. I never said anything about the regalia. You know, it was just like, I seen your, that you are, a manager or a leader in the Indigenous section of Melbourne Museum. I want to know how you do it, and just, those type of conversations. She asked me what mob I was from, and I was like, what does that mean? She says, well, I'm from the Wabu, and I'm like, okay, I'm Mi'kmaq. I'm a Mi'kmaq from the Mi'kmaq Nation. She's like, nation? I said, yeah, I guess mob and nation are the same thing, but you're calling them a mob and I'm calling them a nation. She's like, okay. So it was kind of like that aha type connection. But then over time, what it was is she actually initiated it. Yeah. And she says, okay, well, I think we might have something here that come from the Micmac people. And I was like, and my head goes, ta-ting, here we go. So I said, oh yeah, right, that's right, you do. And she says, yeah. She says, is there something, that you want to talk about? I said, yeah, absolutely. I want to see if we can get it back. And she's like, yeah, I think we can do that. And I was like, well, what? Seriously, it's that easy? And she's like, yeah. She says, our First Nations people or our mob people actually understand what it means to bring things back because we're wanting to get our stuff back. We've been wanting to get stuff back for many, many years. Mm-hmm. And a lot of places don't have the laws to allow them to allow things to come back. We do. We have a repatriation law in Melbourne, and which allows us to, if a First Nations person or from any culture contacts the Melbourne Museum and, we go through all of the red tape, then that particular item can be returned home.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful. What does it mean to me? Not just me, the whole Mi'kmaq Nation. All First Nations people to have something coming home that's this old. And in this condition, it was well cared for.
So what we're doing now is working with the Canadian Museum Association on an international repatriation law for Canada. So it kind of like opened up the doors for Indigenous people across Canada. I mean, each province in Canada probably has their own little, I know out west has a couple repatriation laws that they use, but if you go any further this way, past like Manitoba type thing, we don't have anything. We have no laws that allow us to go and say, yes, we have the right to have this back, type thing. So I'm working with the Canadian Museum Association to do that. So it's a big job, but it has to be done. Yeah.
That is such an amazing story. And I love how you just mentioned at the end there, work with museums. Because I know with the Truth and Reconciliation's calls to actions, there was a call on actions with museums and, doing their part with reconciliation. I like what you said about the mob and that they understand about wanting the need of something that to be returned to them.
Yeah.
So I'll be sure to keep an eye out in Mi'kmaq. If there's anything Bob related, I'll do my part and make sure it gets back to their proper homeland here.
Absolutely, yes.
Right. The other thing I've noticed in the center, which was quite amazing, was of a Mi'kmaq petroglyph that's on display over there.
On the big stone that's over there?
Yes, the big stone.
Yeah, it's an actual petroglyph. It was actually found down in Dartmouth area. There was a blasting site that was taking place for some construction that was being built, and there was somebody down there that actually seen it. It was a large, large boulder. That there is cut in half because there was no way that they could actually uproot that large boulder and bring it somewhere so that it could be saved.
Did you know about centralization in Nova Scotia of the 1940s? This was an Indian Affairs policy to relocate all Nova Scotia Mi'kmaq onto two large communities, Eskasoni for Unama'ki, Cape Breton, and Sipekne'katik for the mainland, in order to save the Department of Indian Affairs administrative costs. Those who didn't move were told that their communities wouldn't receive basic services. Those who moved were promised jobs and homes, but there were none. They were still in poverty, just in another community. There was strong Mi'kmaq resistance to centralization, and the policy didn't work. The plan was abandoned by 1950. My grandmother's family was moved to Eskasoni for a year before returning to Whalesong a year later. A lot of Mi'kmaq people are known for is incredible beadwork, and you have some here on display as well too.
I do.
Could you share a bit about that with us?
Yeah, so not only does the regalia have over 182-year-old beadwork on it, but we also have more modern, I should say, they're still over 150-year-old pieces that we have here in our display case. So we have things such as moccasin toes, we have a tea cozy, we have a Mi'kmaq peaked cap. And we actually just got from I think it was the Army Museum. They had been given a Mi'kmaq beaded vest, and they had no idea what to do with it. So they're like, okay, so after the story of me repatriating things and the whole history, it had gotten out there, people are understanding what it means. I was contacted by them to ask me if I would like this back, and there was no question. Of course I do, right? So that's on display there too. There's not a whole lot of history about it because they didn't have the means or the knowledge what history to ask when it was being given to them. So there's not a whole lot there, but that's okay. It's still our beadwork.
I could not help but notice that a lot of the amazing ironwork that's on the wall here as well, which resembles the petroglyphs.
So these are actually some of the petroglyphs from Kejimkujik National Park. And what they did is they took pictures of them, uploaded them into computers so that we'll have them everlasting. But what happened was we have an artist here in our community, Teresa Marshall.
Yes.
Teresa Marshall had access to these, and she's an iron worker. So she picked 8 of them that she thought was the most important ones that popped out at her, and she did them.
I've been to some other Mi'kmaq cultural centers in other communities throughout Mi'kmaq, and usually when I visit them, it's usually kind of a twofold learning lesson. One, the culture and history of the Mi'kmaq, as well as some local history of the community itself.
Right.
Would you say that this Heritage Center here serves both purposes?
Absolutely. We are labeled, not by myself, but we're labeled by other places that we are the eye of the Mi'kmaq people. We are the first people that people come to and want to learn about us as a whole. And then in that, we also have the history of Millbrook itself, when it was established, where we moved from before we actually got established here and such. So, yeah, it's a twofold type thing.
The way I see it is, Canada, people want to learn our history. And so our centers in our communities are an excellent resource for that. Do you get many tour groups, school groups, coming here to learn?
Yes. Since we started in 2015, our visitation rates have increased dramatically. The year when, just when COVID hit, we had over 45,000 people walk through our door. And that's a groundbreaking record that they've never had before, okay? And then COVID hit, of course, everything fell. But last year we were close to 47,000 people that walked through our door. And a lot of it is by word of mouth. A lot of it is about our tour buses that come in, talking to other tour directors, talking to their, you know, their owners of the tour companies. The schools, we have schools coming all the way from Listagush.
Wow.
Yeah, we have schools coming from Eskasoni and such coming here because we are the biggest heritage center that students can come to and learn about us firsthand. So yeah, the population, the visitation from schools, actually general public too. We have meeting spaces within our center too. So we have companies that are coming in here now, booking our theater, booking our workshop area for their meetings, as well as asking us to come in and give them a little bit of a talk, a little bit of education, because a lot of the businesses that come here are non-Indigenous. So they're wanting to learn a lot about us because they just don't get it in their workplace. So when they're coming here, they ask for that, and we're more than willing to do that because that's what they're here for. You know, that's what we're here for. We're trying to bring back our language too. Each one of our display cases has 2 buttons. One of the display cases is English and the other one Mi'kmaq, being spoken by Michael Ardeni from Eskasoni. I don't know our language. It's one of the things that I'm continuously trying to learn, but as you're older, things are harder, and our language is tough.
Yeah.
You know, it's a tough language, so.
If people are driving by, how do they find it?
There's no way you can miss us. We have a big 40-foot statue of Glooscap outside.
How long has the Glooscap statue been a part of the center?
Since 2005, before it was actually built. The center was built in 2006. He was built prior to that.
Oh, so he's 1 year older.
Yes, he is.
Do we know his birthday?
No.
We'll have to look into that.
I will.
Okay.
So the next thing that we're working on is actually expanding the center. So behind me, there's a section, the wall here behind me is actually going to be demolished, and we're going to be extending that way towards our parking lot. And when we expand that way, we're going to have more like a drum design in it, which will have more exhibition space. It'll have an area where we can do cultural training, dance classes, drum classes, all kinds of things that we just don't have the ability to do in the center right now. And also we're going to have like an outdoor wigwam. We're going to have a healing garden. We're going to have different things on the other side of it. So that's a work in progress. I just am waiting for the plans and then the go-ahead to go to the funders and find out if we can get it. Everybody's enticed. Everybody wants it to be done. So, and so do we. We're excited. I get goosebumps every time I talk about it because it's a community-led too. It's just not from us. The children are going to be involved. The elders are going to be involved. Everybody in the community is going to be involved. They're going to be building things for the place. You know, they're going to be involved. So
It's very exciting, and you know, I've been to the center here several times before, and I think back in the winter I was here for the a Book Magic event here, and of course we launched an incredible event here back in the fall, and I look forward to coming back.
yeah, thank you very much.
Well, all go.
Well, they up to you.
Wabanabiek na me gada se spela madiek Bukulada muja wabanabi